Chapter 81. Didn't you tell President Xing that he is a reform through labor prisoner? Sun Xiaoming continued to ask. Of course I said it. At that time, President Xing's eyes almost didn't frighten me to death. If I dared to talk too much, I would not be able to keep my position as manager. Now Kui Ziyuan thinks of Xing Jun's eyes, and he has lingering fears. Does this guy really know President Xing? Sun Xiaoming frowned. Let's take a look and then talk about it. If he really knows President Xing, we really can't target him in the future, and you have to coax him. Kui Ziyuan exhorted Sun Xiaoming. It's up to you. Sun Xiaoming rolled her eyes and walked out. At this time, more than a dozen people in the sales department already knew that the general manager had spoken in person and recruited a prisoner who had been in prison. This kind of thing spreads very quickly in the company, especially this kind of gossip. This David must have something to do with Mr. Xing, or else he won't be wanted. People who have been in prison come with us. Why do I feel so infiltrating? We'll all be careful when people come here. If this guy really has something to do with Mr. Xing, if we're not careful, we'll be out of luck. The people in the sales department gathered around and discussed. What are you doing? Don't you have to work? Sun Xiaoming came out of the office and saw everyone gathered around discussing, so she shouted with a cold face. Although Sun Xiaoming is just an ordinary salesperson in the sales department, he is always showing his authority. After all, Kui Ziyuan is the department manager, no one dares to provoke Sun Xiaoming. When Sun Xiaoming shouted like this, everyone dispersed, only a short-haired girl walked towards Sun Xiaoming. This girl's name is Wang Lanlan, and she has a good relationship with Sun Xiaoming. Xiaoming, did you hear that our sales department recruited a prisoner of labor reform? I heard that it was recruited by President Xing's words. It is estimated that it has something to do with President Xing. Wang Lanlan whispered to Sun Xiaoming. FCUK, if he has something to do with President Xing, and he has something to do with President Xing, it's just shish. Luck. Sun Xiaoming doesn't believe that David really has anything to do with the general manager. Wang Lanlan was taken aback. Do you know the one named David? Sun Xiaoming found that she had said something wrong, and hurriedly shook her head. I don't know the prisoner of labor reform. I just think this guy just came out of prison. How could he know Mr. Xing? Don't spread the word. I will ask Manager Kui to ask Xing later. Always no. About an hour later, David's entry procedures were completed, and he went to the sales department after receiving a badge. When David arrived at the sales department, everyone looked at him like a giant panda, which made David a little overwhelmed. David, congratulations on joining our sales department. You will cherish this opportunity in the future. Kui Ziyuan said to David in a calm tone. Kui Ziyuan didn't dare to target David until he didn't know if David had a relationship with Xing Jun. David nodded slightly. Tongjian, come here. Kui Ziyuan shouted at a boy with glasses and a young face. Soon the boy ran over and said to Kui Ziyuan, Manager, are you calling me? You will take David with you in the future. You too, remember to teach him more. Kui Ziyuan said to the boy. The boy looked at David with an embarrassed look on his face. Why, are you not happy? Kui Ziyuan stared. The boy hurriedly shook his head and said, yes, yes. Seeing the boy's agreement, Kui Ziyuan smiled slightly and said to David, go with him, your workstation is next to him. After Kui Ziyuan finished speaking, he turned around and went back to the office. The other colleagues in the sales department looked at David with a playful smile, and that Sun Xiaoming also secretly smiled and sat back in his seat. Chapter 82. Big brother, my name is Zhang Tongjian, I hope you can take care of. Back at the workstation, Zhang Tongjian stretched out his hand nervously and said to David. David could see that Zhang Tongjian was very afraid of himself, which surprised David. My name is David Chen, you should take care of me. David stretched out his hand and smiled slightly. No, I've only been here for a few days. Let's work together, Zhang Tongjian said hurriedly. David has long seen that Zhang Tongjian is not like an old employee. You seem to be afraid of me. David asked Zhang Tongjian in confusion. No, don't be afraid. Zhang Tongjian shook his head, but he didn't dare to look directly at David. Do you know something? David knew that Zhang Tongjian must know something, so he was afraid of himself. Zhang Tongjian hesitated for a while, and finally nodded. Brother, why are you in jail? You don't look like a bad person. When David heard this, he immediately laughed. It turned out that Zhang Tongjian knew that he had been in prison, so he was a little scared. After knowing why Jong Tongjan was afraid of himself, David didn't hide anything, and told Jong Tongjan about his own affairs. It didn't take long for the two to get to know each other, and that Jong Tongjan was no longer afraid of David. Brother Chen, you're wronged enough, but now that you're out, let's do it well, it's just. Jong Tongjan said, and began to hesitate. Just what? David asked. Brother Chen, it's just that you were assigned to my group. It is estimated that neither of us can work very long. Jong Tongjan sighed and said. What's going on? David was surprised. Jong Tongjan opened a folder from the computer, and then said to David, Brother Chen, these are the accounts that our group needs to recover. The previous salesman left the accounts and left, and now we need to collect them. If we don't come up, we won't be able to do it. David looked at the dense accounts on the computer and frowned slightly. How many people owe my wife money? Brother Chen, what did you say? Jong Tongjan was taken aback. Oh, I said why so many people owe money. David hurriedly changed his mind. That's right, it's hard to do any business now. I've analyzed it a long time ago. Those who owe money are some difficult customers. It is estimated that the two of us will not be able to collect it. Jong Tongjan sighed heavily. David finally understood at this time why after he was assigned to a group with Jong Tongjan, many people secretly laughed. Don't worry, the money will not be less, we can get it. David patted Jong Tongjan's shoulder and encouraged. You must know that this company belongs to Sonia. The money owed to the company is the money owed to Sonia, and the money owed to Sonia is the money owed to him. David will not let anyone owe him money. Well, let's work together. Encouraged by David, Jong Tongjan nodded his head hard. David began to be familiar with all the arrears in the company, and he would have to get back a lot of this money. Soon, a day passed. David stretched his waist and couldn't help muttering, this is too much debt, what does the general manager of the company eat? Brother Chen, don't talk nonsense. If you are overheard and report your words, it will be troublesome. When Jong Tongjan heard David complaining about the general manager, he was so frightened that he hurriedly reminded him. Is it so serious? It's just a general manager, and he was hired. Do you really consider this place your own home and an emperor? David did not expect that the employees were so afraid of Mr. Xing. You must know that Xing Jun is just a professional manager. He was hired by the Su family with money, and he has not yet reached the point of covering the sky with one hand in the company. It's just that Sonia rarely comes to the company and never participates in the company's affairs, which makes Xing Jun's power more and more powerful. Chapter 83. David, the company stipulates that new employees should invite everyone to have a meal. Where do you plan to arrange everyone? After Sun Xiaoming got off work, she found David and asked. At this time, everyone in the office looked at David, ready to eat David, because every new employee would be eaten hard. And this rule? Is the board ruled by the board? David was slightly taken aback. Brother Chen, there is this rule. When I came, I invited everyone to have a meal. It cost me nearly 10,000. Jong Tongjan reminded David in a low voice. David, since you have come to my sales department, you must abide by the rules of the sales department. This rule was set when I was a manager. Kui Ziyuan came over and said to David. The rules you set. David smiled coldly. I'm sorry, I don't have money. If you want to eat, then pay for it yourself. You are not beggars. Can you beg me for a meal? After David finished speaking, he turned around and left without ignoring Kui Ziyuan's already angry face. This David is too much. What the H3LL, is it because he has something to do with Mr. Xing? He is so defiant and ignores manager Kui. Wang Lanlin jumped out and spoke for Kui Ziyuan immediately. That is, even if he is related, he can't talk to manager Kui like this. He even compares us to beggars. Who the H3LL cares about his meal? It seems that he still doesn't know how powerful our sales department is. Let him look good tomorrow. A group of people in the sales department were all talking indignantly. That Jong Tongjan didn't dare to speak at all, and he was extremely depressed. David's actions today will definitely attract revenge. When they are in a group, he can't hide himself. Hey, he has AF. Art relationship. I have already asked President Xing. The reason why President Xing left him is just to make him embarrassed. Kui Ziyuan's eyes flashed coldly. He has already asked Xing Jun in a side-by-side manner, and Xing Jun's instruction to him is to make David embarrassed in the company. Although Kui Ziyuan didn't know why Xing Jun did this, he dared not listen to the general manager's words. Since David didn't treat the guests, the people in the sales department also left. Just when Kui Ziyuan said goodbye to Sun Xiaoming and was thinking about leaving, Sun Xiaoming's cell phone suddenly rang. The call was from Sun Xiaoming's mother, Li Fengxia. Seeing her mother calling her, Sun Xiaoming hurriedly answered. Xiaoming, let me tell you the great news, all the debts owed by Fuyao Decoration have been returned to us, and our company has survived. Li Fengxia's voice was filled with excitement and excitement. Really? Sun Xiaoming was also excited. Then why did Fuyao Decoration suddenly pay back the money? We asked for it many times and didn't give it. Your dad has inquired about it, and it was Lord Tiger who spoke, so frightened that Fuyao Decoration immediately gave the money. Li Fengxia said. Lin Tianyu. Sun Xiaoming was stunned. It doesn't matter if our family follows him, we don't even know him, so why does Lord Hu help us? I'm also wondering. I remember you said that Ziyuan used his relationship to help us think of a way. I think whether Ziyuan knew Hu Yi, or his friend, so I called you to ask. If Ziyuan is really helping, then you can call him tonight and let's have a meal together. Li Fengxia asked. I'll ask him, hang up first. Sun Xiaoming hung up the phone. What's wrong? Do you think you're happy? Kui Ziyuan asked Sun Xiaoming's excited face, so he asked suspiciously. Chapter 84. Ziyuan, did you ask Tiger Lord to help our family to get the account? All the money from Fuyao Decoration has been returned to our family, and our family's company has been saved. My dad said that Tiger Lord personally spoke. Sun Xiaoming looked at Kui Ziyuan expectantly and asked. She really hoped that Kui Ziyuan really did this, so that his parents would not reject the two of them, and in front of his parents, Kui Ziyuan's status would be improved a lot, and he could get to know people like Lin Tianyu. That is very honorable. Master Tiger. Kui Ziyuan was stunned for a moment, but his eyes rolled, and he quickly reacted. Ah, I talked to Master Tiger, but I didn't expect Master Tiger to be so efficient. Since he gave the money, then I'm relieved too. Ziyuan, I didn't expect you to really know Tiger Master, you're amazing. Sun Xiaoming jumped on Kui Ziyuan excitedly, Ssed Kui Ziyuan fiercely, and said, my mother said, I'll call you tonight. Let's have dinner, now I want to see, can my dad look down on you? Sun Xiaoming happily held Kui Ziyuan's arm and walked towards the parking lot together. David on the other side, after returning home, Barbara asked eagerly, David, how was the interview? What position has been arranged for you? Mom, the interview was successful, I became a salesperson, and the treatment was good. David smiled lightly. Hey, it's really great to be a salesperson directly. This is due to Xiaoming. When we have time, our family will go and thank them. You have a formal job, and I'm relieved. A satisfied smile appeared on Barbara's face. Seeing his mother's happy appearance, David didn't say anything. David, take a shower, change your clothes, we'll go out to eat in a while, your uncle's son called and asked us to have a meal together. Chen Baoguo walked in from the outside with his mobile phone and said after seeing David. Baoguo, why did Fui invite us to dinner? It stands to reason that people have found a job for David, so we should invite them. Barbara asked inexplicably. It seems that the arrears of Fui company have been paid off, and the company has survived. Chen Baoguo said. That's really good, it's really good people get good rewards. Barbara was also happy for Sun Fui when she heard it. After David heard it, he smiled slightly and went into the room to change his clothes. He originally wanted to call Lin Tianyu and ask, but he didn't expect this kid to be very efficient in his work. It seems that the debts that are so heartfelt will be asked by Lin Tianyu. It's all his own money. Sun Fui was very happy at the Regal Hotel, so he specially reserved a table here. You must know that Sun Fui has not eaten here for a long time, because the price is too expensive, and the company is full of debts, so he has no intention to come. Eat here. This Regal Hotel is stylish. Is it my first time to eat here? Sun Xiaoming looked at the magnificent hotel in front of her, and she was so excited that she almost jumped up. This is also the property of the Su family. Speaking of which, we are all bosses. When I eat here, I can get a 20% discount with my work permit. Kui Ziyuan said with some pride. Yes, we come here to eat, and it can be regarded as generating income for the boss. Sun Xiaoming took Kui Ziyuan's hand and walked in. When they came to a private room, the two pushed the door and walked in. At this time, Sun Fui had arrived with Li Fengxia. Good uncle, good aunt. Kui Ziyuan greeted Sun Fui and Li Fengxia politely after seeing Sun Fui and Li Fengxia. Okay, Li Fengxia hurriedly stood up. Ziyuan, come and sit down, it's all your family, why are you being polite? Chapter 85. At this time, Sun Fuai also smiled slightly. Ji Yuan, come and stand next to me, and my father and I will have 2 more drinks in a while. My company's affairs are all thanks to you. Sun Fuai's attitude towards Kui Ziyuan changed 180 degrees, which made Kui Ziyuan swell up instantly. Uncle, why are you being polite to me about this trivial matter? It's not just a matter of words, and we are a family. Kui Ziyuan said and sat beside Sun Fuai. Although this was not done by Kui Ziyuan, since everyone thinks that he did it, then he will follow the flow and show his strength. Ziyuan, I really don't know that you know Tiger Master, don't you know that the boss of Fuyao Decoration Company sent me money, and he looked like a grandson, so he almost knelt down for me, it's so cool now. When Sun Fuai remembered that scene, his whole person was extremely excited. He has worked for so many years, pretending to be a grandson for others, and he has never been treated like a grandfather before. I am afraid that this feeling will never be forgotten in his life. Uncle, if there is anything going on in the company in the future, just tell me. Don't look at me as a small department manager. There is nothing I can't handle in Horrendal. Kui Ziyuan spoke shamelessly, and was not afraid not to expose it, because none of the people here knew Lin Tianyu, and had never even seen him. Who could expose him? Okay, from now on, my uncle's company will depend on you, and I will be a daughter. Everything in the future will be yours. Sun Fuai now recognizes this Kui Ziyuan from the bottom of his heart. Don't worry, uncle, I will definitely treat Xiaoming well. Kui Ziyuan nodded vigorously, excited inside. Okay, I'm hungry, you guys are talking, I'm going to starve to death, hurry up and eat. Sun Xiaoming interrupted the conversation between the two and said with a pouted mouth. Wait a minute, I informed you Uncle Chen's family, they should be here soon. Sun Fuai stopped Sun Xiaoming. Let's have dinner together as a family, what do we ask them to do? It's annoying. When Sun Xiaoming heard that the David family was coming, her face suddenly became ugly. You child, how can you say that Uncle Chen also saved Dad's life? Sun Fuai glared at Sun Xiaoming, and then continued, how was David's interview today? Uncle, David's test was successful. As a department manager, I can still handle this trivial matter. Kui Ziyuan directly took the credit for David's successful test to himself. Ziyuan, I'm really bothering you. Sun Fuai gave Kui Ziyuan a grateful look. At this moment, the box door was pushed open, and David's family walked in. Sorry, it's a little late. Seeing that Sun Fuai and the others had already arrived, Chen Baoguo said apologetically. Old monitor, it's okay, we just arrived, hurry up and sit. Sun Fuai hurriedly greeted Chen Baoguo and the others to sit down. And David felt a little surprised after seeing that Kui Ziyuan was there, but he didn't say anything. However, Kui Ziyuan looked at David with a playful face, and said with a cold smile, David, we met again and asked you to treat yourself, but you ran away. Do you know how difficult it is for me and Xiaoming to do this? After Kui Ziyuan finished speaking, Chen Baoguo immediately looked at David with a question in his eyes. Barbara asked, David, what's going on? Sun Fuai also looked at Kui Ziyuan with a questioning expression on his face. This David, the interview was successful. There is a rule in our sales department that new employees should treat guests to dinner, but he said that he had no money and ran away, which made me and Ziyuan humiliated. Sun Xiaoming looked at David angrily and said. Chapter 86. David, is that so? Chen Baoguo asked with a cold face when he heard this. Dad, I am. Shut up for me. Chen Baoguo interrupted David and shouted vigorously, our family is poor, but we can't afford a meal. If someone helps you, you have to abide by their rules. Don't you understand the etiquette? How can you still work in the company in the future? Chen Baoguo roared, and David didn't say a word. Old monitor, this child David is also trying to save money. It's a big deal. If you don't ask, please don't ask. Today's meal is congratulations to David for his successful exam. Sun Fuai hurriedly tried to smooth things out, and he couldn't let Chen Baoguo and David quarrel. Uncle, in fact, Xiaoming and I are not different from David's meal. The main reason is to let him increase his relationship with his colleagues and start work in the future. Kui Ziyuan said this, making David even more stingy. Yes, this is David's fault. I will ask him to make it up tomorrow. The company's rules cannot be broken from us. Chen Baoguo looked at Kui Ziyuan apologetically. I think so, there is no need for tomorrow. After dinner, I will contact a few colleagues in the company. Let's go to Sing and sing together. The money will be released by David. I will explain it to the people in the company. Kui Ziyuan said. All right, Chen Baoguo nodded again and again. Ziyuan, the conditions of your Uncle Chen's house are not very good, but you should watch it, but you can't spend more. Sun Fuai said to Kui Ziyuan. Don't worry, uncle, it won't cost 200 or 300. Kui Ziyuan smiled slightly. Fuai, this is Xiaoming's object, right? He is a talented person, and he does everything well. Chen Baoguo followed Sun Fuai and praised Kui Ziyuan. No, all the debts from my company have to be returned. Thanks to him, Ziyuan got to know Lin Tianyu from Horrendal, and Lin Tianyu got the money back in one sentence. Sun Fuai is also full of smiles, and he is quite satisfied with Kui Ziyuan, his son-in-law. After David heard this, he was stunned for a moment. He didn't know when the credit for Sun Fuai's company came back to Kui Ziyuan. Lin Tianyu. Chen Baoguo was taken aback for a moment. Is that the biggest gangster in Horrendal? It's better not to know this kind of person. Don't look at the prestige now, sooner or later you will be unlucky. Chen Baoguo used to be a civil servant, so he looked down on little gangsters. Uncle Chen, what you said is wrong. It is a supreme honor to know Tiger Lord in Horrendal. How can you say that? Just like your son, I am afraid that you will never have the chance to know Tiger Lord in your life. In the future, you don't say such things, so as not to cause trouble. Kui Ziyuan was very angry at Chen Baoguo's words, so he said coldly. After Chen Baoguo listened, he closed his mouth and stopped talking. Old class leader, society is different now, and we have to keep up with the situation in some things. Sun Fuai said lightly. Chen Baoguo still didn't speak, but in his heart, he just didn't like people like Lin Tianyu. This is why David did not dare to let his parents know that he knew Lin Tianyu. If his parents knew about it, they would not even want his son. At the wine table, Kui Ziyuan has been drinking with a proud attitude, feeling the feeling of being touted by others. It's just that David didn't drink alcohol from the beginning to the end, and he didn't respect Kui Ziyuan for a drink, which made Kui Ziyuan feel a little uncomfortable. David, a big man, why don't you drink? Kui Ziyuan asked David slightly sarcastically. David smiled slightly. It's not that I don't know how to drink it, because for me, there is no difference between wine and tea. It is better to drink tea and save some money. Chapter 87. Kui Ziyuan was stunned for a moment, and then laughed loudly. What do you mean? You can drink well, don't you? I haven't been drunk yet. David said lightly. This time, Kui Ziyuan instantly became interested. Well, let's compete against each other. I've never met an opponent when I drink, and I just had a good time today. Kui Ziyuan said, and asked the waiter to bring up a box of liquor. David, when will you be able to drink baijiu? Don't talk nonsense. Is there any outsider here? What can you do? Barbara frowned slightly. Mom, don't worry, I'm measured. David comforted his mother. Chen Baoguo also wanted to speak out to stop it, but Sun Fuai grabbed him. Old squad leader, young people are very brave. You forgot that we often fight wine in the army. Let them play. When Chen Baoguo saw this, he couldn't say anything, so he could only glance at David helplessly. Ziyuan, you're a big drinker. Let David order it, but don't drink too much. It's just lively and lively. Sun Fuai knew that Kui Ziyuan was a big drinker. Once, when Kui Ziyuan drank more than a pound of white wine, he could take a taxi home by himself. Don't worry, uncle, I'll have 2 drinks, just let him have one. Kui Ziyuan opened the bottle and started pouring wine into the glass. This cup is too small, bring 2 big bowls. David said to the waiter. Kui Ziyuan was stunned for a moment, and looked at David in surprise. You can't drink from a bowl, can you? David asked with a faint smile. How is it possible? Even if I blow it with a bottle, I am the same. Kui Ziyuan sneered. In his opinion, David was deliberately pretending to frighten himself. The more David was like this, the more proof he couldn't drink. Soon, the big bowl was brought, and a bowl of wine was full of a bottle. Tell me, how do you drink it? Kui Ziyuan asked David provocatively. I'm afraid of trouble, so I did. After speaking, David actually drank a bowl of white wine in one go. Seeing this, everyone was taken aback. Chen Baoguo frowned slightly, and his eyes were full of distress. David, are you drinking? What's the difference between this and suicide? Don't be brave. Dad, I'm fine. David smiled at Chen Baoguo, then turned the bowl upside down, looked at Kui Ziyuan and said, "It's your turn." Kui Ziyuan frowned. He really didn't expect David to dare to drink all the wine in one breath. Although he has a good amount of alcohol, this way of drinking is really afraid of ruining his body. If you can't drink, don't drink it, what's the comparison? Chen Baoguo saw that Kui Ziyuan was a little embarrassed, so he gave Kui Ziyuan a step to speak. It's okay if you don't drink, then it proves that you are cowardly. David looked at Kui Ziyuan provocatively. Cowardly. Kui Ziyuan suddenly became angry when he heard this. I've never been counseled when I drink. After speaking, Kui Ziyuan closed his eyes and drank a bowl of wine. After drinking it, Kui Ziyuan's face instantly turned red. David picked up the wine bottle and poured 2 more bowls of wine. David, enough. Seeing this, Chen Baoguo got up and shouted at David. David didn't speak, but looked at Kui Ziyuan directly, with a strong provocation in his eyes. Don't worry, let's continue drinking. At this moment, Kui Ziyuan only felt his anger rising and shouted loudly to Chen Baoguo. David's eyes narrowed slightly, he picked up the wine, and drank it again. When these liquors arrived in David's stomach, there was no difference with water, and the spiritual power in David absorbed these liquors. Seeing David drinking another bowl of white wine, everyone was shocked. Sun Xiaoming pulled Kui Ziyuan and said, if you can't drink it, we won't drink it. He's barefoot and not afraid of wearing shoes, so let's not compare him. Chapter 88. That's right, Ziyuan, we don't drink anymore, our lives are precious, so why are we fighting him? At this time, Li Fengxia also stood up and persuaded Kui Ziyuan. They are really afraid that Kui Ziyuan will eat a bowl of wine and the whole person will be in trouble, then it will be troublesome. At this time, Kui Ziyuan's eyes were a little red, and he looked at David with a little dizziness. Seeing that David's eyes were full of provocation, he gritted his teeth, picked up the bowl and drank it. After 2 bowls of wine, Kui Ziyuan's face has turned from red to white, and the whole face looks a little hideous. Seeing Kui Ziyuan like that, David sat back with satisfaction. Drinking it, Kui Ziyuan would definitely die of drinking, and his parents would definitely not let him drink anymore. You, why did you sit down? Drink if you can. Drink again. When Kui Ziyuan saw David sitting down, he immediately shouted. But just after he finished speaking, a burst of blood suddenly surged up, and he spit it out in one mouthful, directly spraying Li Fengxia all over her body. What? Li Fengxia screamed, looking at the filth on her body, she almost vomited herself. Seeing this, Sun Fuai frowned tightly, and his face was ugly. Chen Baoguo glared at David, then quickly got up and said, Fuai, hurry up and send Ziyuan home, we're leaving too, these 2 children are real, what are they called? Sun Fuai could only nod his head, it was all done like this, and there was no way to stay and chat. But just when Chen Baoguo wanted to leave with David, Kui Ziyuan stopped him directly. Can't go. Kui Ziyuan's eyes were hazy. How can you just leave after you agreed to sing? Are you afraid of spending money? Ziyuan, you've been drinking too much, wait until another day. Sun Fuai persuaded Kui Ziyuan. No, I have to go today. I've already made reservations with everyone in the group. If I don't go, I'll lose face. Kui Ziyuan shook his head, he must let David sing. This time, Sun Fuai looked at Chen Baoguo with some embarrassment. Dad, you go back first, I'll ask them to sing. David said to Chen Baoguo. Chen Baoguo couldn't say anything at this time, he could only tell David, don't be too late, don't drink anymore. As Chen Baoguo said, he took out a stack of money from his pocket. There were parts and pieces, and it was more than 300 yuan. You take this money, I know it costs a lot to sing. Chen Baoguo put the money into David's hands. David wanted to refuse, but he knew that with his father's character, he couldn't refuse, so he simply collected the money. At this time, Sun Fuai also took out his wallet, took out 1,000 yuan and handed it to David. David, I'll give you a little more, and prepare for emergencies in case the money is not enough. Dad, you usually don't give me money so generously. Sun Xiaoming snatched the money from Sun Fuai's hand and said. You kid, hurry up and give the money to David. Sun Fuai said to Sun Xiaoming. It's not the same when I take it. He won't have enough money by then, so I'll just make it up. Sun Xiaoming put the money in her pocket. Uncle Sun, I have enough money, it's really not enough, I can make it up to Xiaoming. David smiled at Sun Fuai. Sun Fuai sighed. That was the only way. The group walked out of the box. Sun Fuai was about to settle accounts. Kui Ziyuan followed him staggeringly. I have a work permit here, and I can get a 20% discount. Kui Ziyuan photographed his work permit on the front desk, but the cashier lady at the front desk didn't even look at it. Sir, for your consumption, this hotel has already waived the bill, you don't need to pay. The cashier lady at the front desk politely said to Sun Fuai. Chapter 89. Sun Fuai was stunned all of a sudden. He didn't understand how he could be exempted from the bill. Kui Ziyuan, who was on the side, immediately laughed when he heard it. Haha, I didn't expect my work card to be so useful. After I took it out, it was actually free of charge. The Su family is really particular about it. Hearing this, Sun Fuai couldn't help but nodded. He also thought that Kui Ziyuan's work certificate played a role. After all, Kui Ziyuan also worked for the Su family. Only the cashier looked at Kui Ziyuan with contempt and said nothing. The reason why the order was waived was for David. Almost all the staff in the Regal Hotel knew about the relationship between David and Sonia. Seeing David over for dinner, of course, the order will be waived. Who dares to accept the money from the future uncle of the Su family? The group walked out of the hotel, and Sun Fuai followed Chen Baoguo to say goodbye to each other. Okay, don't talk about it, my body stinks to death, it's all to blame for this David, did he drink like that? He gave Ziyuan too much. Li Fengxia muttered and stared at David angrily. David did not speak, while Chen Baoguo followed Li Fengxia apologetically and left with Barbara. Sun Fuai also followed Li Fengxia home, leaving only David, Kui Ziyuan and Sun Xiaoming. David, you are drunk, take a taxi by yourself, don't dirty my car. Sun Xiaoming gave David a cold look and said. David drank Kui Ziyuan like this, Sun Xiaoming is still angry now. David, we're going to Dynasty KTV, don't run away halfway. After Kui Ziyuan finished speaking staggeringly, he was pulled into the car by Sun Xiaoming, and then disappeared without a trace. Looking at the speeding car, David's eyes were filled with chills. This Kui Ziyuan was finding fault one after another, and David should teach him a good lesson. And that Sun Xiaoming, if it wasn't for Sun Fuai's sake, David wouldn't be accustomed to her. Reaching out to stop a taxi, David wanted to rush towards Dynasty KTV, but at this moment the phone rang. It was Wang Hanhan who called, and David hurriedly connected. Brother David, where did your family go? My mother made some dumplings and brought them to you, but found no one at home. Wang Hanhan asked. We came out to eat. David explained. Oh, are you finished eating now? I think the house is too boring, and I want to go out for a walk. Wang Hanan's meaning is obvious, she wants David to accompany her around. David hesitated and said, I'm going to go to KTV now. I succeeded in the interview today. I sing along with my colleagues. Oh, then forget it. Wang Hanan's tone was a little lost. Where are you? Shall we go together? David said suddenly. He was about to bring Wang Hanhan to the company, and he happened to follow these people to get acquainted. Is this suitable? Wang Hanhan wanted to go, but was a little embarrassed. What's wrong with this? I want to take you to the company tomorrow, there's nothing wrong with getting to know you first, I'll pick you up. After David finished speaking, he asked the taxi to go to their community to pick up Wang Hanhan before rushing to Dynasty KTV. At this time of Dynasty KTV, Kui Ziyuan and the others have arrived and opened a big private room. What's going on with this David? He hasn't come for so long, so he won't run away, right? He's so poor, I'm really afraid he can't pay. Wang Lanlin muttered. Everyone else also agreed, for fear that David would not come, so who will pay for the private room today? Tongjian, if David doesn't come, you will be together, and you will pay for today's consumption. Kui Ziyuan leaned on the sofa and said to Zhang Tongjian, who was sitting in the corner with blurred eyes. Zhang Tongjian nodded reluctantly. Although he was reluctant, he did not dare to refuse. Chapter 90. Seeing that someone has paid for it, the others are excited and start ordering fruit plates and beer. Zhang Tongjian is praying that David must come, otherwise he will be bleeding again today, and his credit card is almost out of limit. Kui Ziyuan was lying on the sofa, let Sun Xiaoming press his head, and drink some water. The drunk state was obviously better, but his head was still dizzy. I tell you, it's fine if David doesn't come. If he comes after a while, you give me a hard drink. Whoever gets him drunk will double the bonus this month. Kui Ziyuan said to the crowd. As soon as they heard the prize doubled, everyone was immediately excited. Don't worry, Manager Kui, I promise to let David go out lying down. If he dares to come, he can't find Bay for what I want to drink. All of them are gearing up. If so many people want to drink David, David will definitely get drunk. Even Zhang Tongjian is moved when he hears that the bonus is doubled, but he will not really drink David. Just as everyone was drinking and singing, the box door was pushed open, and David led Wang Hanhan to arrive. Seeing David coming, everyone was a little stunned, especially seeing Wang Hanhan beside David, which made many men's eyes bright. Even Kui Ziyuan, who was dizzy and squinted, saw after Wang Hanhan, her eyes widened instantly. Although Sun Xiaoming is also beautiful, she has a youthful vibe on Wang Hanhan. Although Wang Hanhan has worked as a dancer in a bar, her heart is still very conservative. David, I thought you were afraid of spending money, so you won't come. Kui Ziyuan glanced at David, then continued to look at Wang Hanhan and asked, who is this little girl? Hello everyone, my name is Wang Hanhan, I'm brother David's neighbor, I hope I didn't disturb everyone. Wang Hanhan introduced himself politely. No interruptions. Sit down quickly. Eat fruit, there is fruit here. A bunch of men are trying their best to be courteous, but no one cares about David. Then Kui Ziyuan also coughed slightly. My name is Kui Ziyuan, and I'm David's manager. When Wang Hanhan heard that Kui Ziyuan was the manager, he stretched out his hand nervously and said, hello Manager Kui. Hello. Kui Ziyuan's eyes glowed with silver light, and he tightly grasped Wang Hanhan's hand. Everyone could see that Kui Ziyuan looked straight at Wang Hanhan, which made Sun Xiaoming angry. Miss Wang, where are you now? Kui Ziyuan didn't feel Sun Xiaoming's angry eyes at all, and still asked Wang Hanhan with a smile. I don't have a job. Wang Hanhan said a little embarrassedly. Hearing this, Kui Ziyuan smiled even brighter. He took out a business card from his pocket. This is my business card. If Miss Wang is interested in our company, she can come to work in our company. Really? When Wang Hanhan heard this, his eyes widened in surprise. Of course, I'm a department manager, so I still have this right. Kui Ziyuan said proudly. Kui Ziyuan, Sun Xiaoming couldn't take it any longer, so she roared. Only then did Kui Ziyuan think of Sun Xiaoming, and hurriedly followed Wang Hanhan to distance himself. I'll sit down. Wang Hanhan seemed to see something, walked over to David with a slight smile, stepped on David's arm skillfully and said, Brother David, can you introduce me to these colleagues of yours? David was frightened by Wang Hanan's skilled movements. In front of so many people, Wang Hanan's movements were too intimate. But Wang Hanhan did this on purpose, in order to make these men here give up on him, and to prevent Sun Xiaoming from being jealous.